But I'm back today. I'm starting a new series, and Jill Kempner is my first guest. For those of you who have been following me for some time, you may or may not have heard me talk about my practice with IET. It's integrated energy therapy. I took this class probably close to 2 years ago, and Jill was my teacher. It is similar to Reiki, but Jill brings in the angels, the archangels, into all of her healing. And the first time that I took a class, Jill's energy really reminded me of one of my sisters, which there's some synchronicities going on with this today as well. And I wanted to interview Jill on my old podcast, the Aware Wolf podcast, but it never worked out because divine timing means we're supposed to talk today. So this is going to be less than an hour of us just chatting, getting to know each other, hearing each other's stories. So thank you so much, Jill, for joining us. I guess if you would like to start with who you are now, what you do, and what brought us to meet.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. I remember when we first met in the class, I was just like magnetized to your wisdom, to your heart, to your compassion, really to your soul's energy. I felt like you were very much embodied with your soul's energy. And so I'm so glad that we've been connecting in several different ways. My name is Jill Kempner. I'm an angel coach and author. Um, I'm also the founder of Angel Reiki. uh, Author of my debut book, Receiving from Your Angels, 4 Practices to Heal Your Pain with Angel Love. And so, what I do as an angel coach, and let me back up a little bit. I served as a massage therapist and a yoga teacher for 20 years, and that was amazing, valuable, um, just powerful work. It was just a pleasure and an honor to help people to relax, to heal pain. Um, and as my practice evolved, I started integrating energy medicine modalities into that physical practice. And that's when my clients started seeing long lasting results. And I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. And then I had a series of physical body challenges. I tore my ACL, I tore my shoulder, and my body was saying, okay, it's time to change, it's time to evolve. And so I kind of moved into the angel coach and author piece of my part of my divine life mission. And that's really what I love so much about what I do is I'm like literally doing what I love every single day. Like this is my soul's mission to help people heal pain, to hear and receive the love of their angels. And it moved from that physical practice of massage and yoga into the energy world. And so I'm an energy healer. I channel IET, like we've been talking about, integrative energy therapy, which is healing with the angels. And also this beautiful medicine of angel Reiki, which is sort of next level Reiki. Um, and if we have time, we'll talk about that at some point. But I just feel so grateful that I get to do what I love every day to share my medicine in this way. And I'm very committed to the practices in my book. One of my friends the other day goes, "Oh, I think it's so cool that you choose a fuel and you pull the cards and you do the meditations." And I'm like, well, the number one reason I do it is because it works. And I said, the second reason I do it is I'm one of those people, and I think that's where we connect, is I walk my talk.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm doing the practices in my book. I'm following those steps, not only because they work, but because I want to have that embodied. I'm embodying it so that when I share it and teach it and help others, like I know it works. I know it's real. So
You're literally leading by example in that way.
exactly. So I just, happy to be here having this chat and just connecting. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much for accepting this invitation. So I know that a lot of us in this community did not have the easiest upbringings, right? And I know that's something that I struggle with as I achieve success in this part of my life is I feel the guilt of sometimes being able to say, like, wow, look at how easy my life is. Look at all the things in my life that I love. Because I can sometimes feel my inner child saying, like, well, fuck you, bitch. Like, how come you get to have that? Why don't I get to have that? So I wonder if you can share a little bit of your upbringing and how maybe you haven't always had this much ease in your life and how you haven't always had it so good.
Yeah, I so feel that. Well, first of all, I've got to just comment on the funny inner child comment,
Mhm.
only because synchronicities abound. And I'm all about synchronicities. This week, I've been working with Kuan Yin from the Sophia Circle, and she is the goddess of compassion, the goddess of the waters, and actually the goddess of your inner child and inner child healing and your phoenix child. So I just did this really super deep initiation with her and healing of my inner child and tending to my inner child. So I think it's kind of cute and leading perfectly into what we're talking about. She needs a lot of healing. What came to the surface, excuse me, is, you know, a lot of people ask me, it's one of the common questions that I get asked, like, well, how did you get into this?
Mhm.
You know, and I often sum all of it up into one word, which is trauma. Um, I had a difficult upbringing in the sense that my mom and dad, it was my mom, my dad, my brother, and I, so it was the four of us, didn't have familial support, didn't have emotional support, and did not have financial support. So when I talk about my childhood, it's with really deep compassion for myself and my inner child and all we went through from my parents, for my brother. All of them right now are on the other side, and there's many stories about them being on the other side. And so what we went through was there was a lot of stress. You know, my mom was stressed, you know, because of all the reasons I said, no support. My dad was stressed. You know, he was an orphan. I didn't never got to meet my dad's parents because they both were gone. So I had the orphan dad. I had my mom who kind of felt like an orphan. She wasn't. You know, she had a family. She had four other siblings and parents that lived in sort of New York and Florida. I was actually born in Tonawanda, um, Buffalo, New York, um, and around the country. But no one was here in Chicago supporting. So I didn't grow up with aunts and uncles. I didn't grow up with my grandparents. I didn't have that support, and the strain of that on our family was intense. And so my mom, she just did the best she could, and all of this kind of stress and trauma, just the poverty and the lack of support culminated into the tragic death of my father. And just a little kind of trigger warning, if because I know that Jackie and I talked about wanting to share some details and kind of so I'm so mindful of how, because I'm an earth angel. I'm an angel ambassador, I'm an angel advisor, I'm an earth angel, right? I'm a highly sensitive, highly intuitive soul, and I know that I'm attracting a lot of people who are also highly intuitive and highly sensitive. So I'm so mindful how I share the details of what I went through. So I'll just share a tiny little bit, in just in what I'm hearing the angels say is like in a respectful way to to our inner children. Since you brought her up from the beginning, right? And I just love that synchronicity. And to anyone who's listening. So when I was 11 years old and my dad was 40, he was murdered. He stepped into a robbery in progress. An older gentleman was being robbed on the street, and he stepped in and he was stabbed and killed. And that night that it happened, I had spent 2 nights in a row at a friend's house. I never spent two. I had a lot of sleepovers. That was one of the fun things of my childhood was, hanging out at someone's house and can I spend the night and, calling up. And I remember, actually, and this always brings emotion. Talking to my dad that night, and he sounded so sad, and as I reflected back, it just killed me. For so long it killed me, how I felt like I wasn't there for him. So anyway, he agreed for me to spend the second night in a row at a friend's house. And after my father was stabbed, he was a badass. He was so strong. He was like, he's funny because he said he wanted to be buried in his in cut off jeans and his work boots because he was very physically fit. He was very tan in tone, and he just really loved to take care of his body. And it's interesting because I have an older half brother who is also very physically fit and tone and all of that, and very into the physical. He's actually the one who inspired me to be a massage therapist. So I spent the second night in a row at a friend's house, and because my father was so strong, he actually stumbled home, and the perpetrator, slit his throat in the gangway of our house. And I know that the angels were there and divine intervention was there. And for me not to see that, now I have replayed that scene a bazillion times in my head. And I want to say this because this brings in the energy medicine. One of my spiritual teachers said you can go back to the past and heal it with Reiki, with the angels. So I went back to that moment and released the karma that led him to that point, released the trauma, the pain, the guilt that he was going through in his own consciousness that led him to, one of the things my teacher said, which was very powerful. I said, where were the angels? Why didn't they protect him? Mm-hmm. And she said, in the most loving, compassionate way, there was only love when she said this. He didn't ask. And it was like, sort of like, it's funny. It reminds me of this priestess thing. It was like a feather and a ocean wave at the same time of this moment of release and relief. Because I think I was like, do I believe, in God and the angels and all of this is something so horrible can happen to me and my family and my father and all of that. So since then, it's been 35 years since my father passed away. I just went through the 35th anniversary. And, he's free and I'm free. And we've healed so much of the karma that was around our family that led to that incident, that led to that event. So I hope that's helpful. I went a little more into detail than I usually do about that story. So holding all of that sacred in my heart. My mom pulled herself up from the bootstraps. She became an RN. She kept our family together. God rest her soul. She worked herself to the bone to take care of Dylan and I. She was a single mom and just made it happen, made it work for us. And she was so freaking supportive of me and my journey. She was so supportive of the massage, yoga, Reiki, energy work, IET, angels, me becoming an author, all of that, the crystals, all the things that I was into. She was supportive through it all, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And so back to the trauma, I was led at an early age. I had a choice. I graduated from high school and I had a choice. I could go to university like many people did, or I could go to a trade school. And I had really good grades. I was a smart kid. I excelled in school. I was signed up to go to UIC. I was enrolled. And that summer that I graduated, I was only 17 years old because I graduated when I was a younger birthday. So I was actually 17 when I graduated from high school. That summer, we went to visit my older brother, my older half brother. And he was we did not grow up together. So we do not have a childhood relationship. We have an adult sibling relationship, not a childhood sibling relationship. So it's a very kind of interesting, I love my brother. He's amazing. So we go into Lake in the Hills and we go hang out. And he's talking about massage and he's like fired up. He's happy. He's excited. And I go, that's what I want to do. And he goes, wait, what? And I'm like, I just want to be happy. That's what I want to do. And he goes, it's really hard work. And, I don't know, he's trying to talk me out of it, and I'm like, no, I'm doing this. So I said to UIC, I graciously decline this offer to attend university now. Maybe I'll be back, maybe you'll take me back one day if I change my mind, and I just, first leap of faith. Now, of course, I was 18, 17. It was easier to make that leap. Knowing I had my whole life ahead of me, knowing that if I hated it or I sucked at it, I could just go back to college. Mm-hmm. But I never did, Jackie. I never went to university because
I envy that.
I decided to get a PhD in energy medicine. And that's just a little bit. I had sort of trauma in my childhood that led me on this path of healing because I wanted to be happy. I wanted to feel relaxed. I wanted to feel peaceful. And then I have the later life trauma that maybe we'll get to sharing about, but I feel like that's a good foundation. I feel like you probably know me a little better now from that. I'm gonna pause and just kind of check in.
Absolutely. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing vulnerably, because I know it's not easy to talk about those kind of tragic things because you don't know how it's going to affect anybody else. But through the sort of in your face way that I have learned to present my information, and it's the way that I love to consume other people's lives as well. I love hearing the nitty gritty details because it makes me feel less alone and stranded because of all the shit that's happened in my life. It makes it easy sometimes to say, like, yes, I've been through some nasty, terrible things, but I haven't been through what that person's been through. Like, hallelujah. Not to say that anyone's trauma is worse than anyone else's, but I I have this knowing, right? This belief, this knowing that we've all chosen our soul contracts before we came here. So everything that led up to that moment of losing your father at 11 years old and then having to be raised by a single mother who felt like she had no support. Sure, that's a bunch of trauma, but it's all here for you in order to grow into the person that you're meant to grow into so that you can share your unique gifts with the world. Because if you hadn't had that upbringing, you wouldn't be the person you are today. You wouldn't have found angel healing. You wouldn't have found really probably any sort of healing work until much later in life, like people who don't have such traumatic childhoods or whatever. Who some people find it earlier, some people find it later in life.
Absolutely.
But I think it is important to honor the truth of where we come from, what we've been through, because there's nothing to be shameful of, and there's nothing to be shameful of sharing it either. Do you get what I'm saying?
I actually completely understand what you're saying. Can I add something right here because you just brought
Yeah.
such an important. You said shame, and my shame story, right? What led me to Reiki? What led me to recommit and redevote myself to Reiki, and then it became Angel Reiki, was what I considered at the time a very shameful experience. So I'm just listening to the angels, like where to start. So fast forward, I've been a massage therapist and a yoga teacher for a number of years, and I had my first child. And after my first child was born, all the things that I had talked about, the poverty, the abuse, the trauma of losing my dad, up to that point of having my daughter, I was suppressing. I was not processing it. And I was too young to process it in many ways. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the support. As wise as I consider myself to be, I didn't even have the consciousness to know all of that was in there. But when I gave birth and my root chakra opened and I became a parent, that's when my soul said, talk about soul contracts and divine timing. Now's the time to do that parent work, the work around your parents, because you're a parent now. And so that first year of my daughter's life was difficult. I had postpartum depression, this much. It wasn't intense, but I had a little.
Mhm.
But what I really had that led me to the psych hospital was PTSD. I had post traumatic stress disorder. I had undiagnosed and untreated PTSD, and I was caring for this infant, this baby, my baby. And I had what was kind of like a manic episode. No one really knew how I landed in a psych hospital, but all of a sudden in 2006, actually September 11th, 2006, I was like, wow, that felt like a really it was a monumental day in American history, and it ended up being a monumental day in my personal history.
Yeah.
I'm in the psych hospital for 11 days.
11/11.
No, and 11/11, and I'm a November 11 birthday.
Yeah.
How did I get here? So that time after the psych hospital is what was my dark night of the soul. And what I went through was tremendous shame. But what I realized, I had some shame that I had to go to the psych hospital. There was some shame in the actual event itself, but it was all this unprocessed shame that I had been bombarded with my life. My mom felt shame about not having money and not having support, and shame about how my dad died, and just so many things that I kind of felt like that's kind of how everybody felt. Like I just thought everybody felt shame and guilt and all these heavy emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt shame, I felt self-judgment, I felt lost, that sort of dark night of the soul, which thank God it only lasted 9 months. One of my spiritual teachers, Alana Fairchild, dark night of the soul lasted 9 years. So every time and I think nine, right? We're in 2025 is a year nine, universal nine,
Yeah.
and something about that nine. And I just, of course, every day, every minute, every moment of that dark night of the soul was so painful. But what I asked myself in that time, and what I realized is I need to take better care of myself. And that's what led me to the spiritual practice. That's what led me to my first spiritual teacher, Billy Topatate, and studying energy medicine with her for 9 years. So I like to make a joke that I have a PhD in energy medicine. I didn't go to university, and every now and then when I feel like throwing my hands up in the air and quitting, even though I know I'm not going to, that part. I'm like, I never went to college. I don't have a bachelor's. I can't pivot again and change my career. My angels just keep reminding me, no, this is your life's purpose. So I don't know why I said all that, but it just came through.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I wanted to bring up something that happened in my life this weekend that helped me understand something that you teach a little bit more deeply. So, for the people who haven't met Jill before, my understanding of what you teach is that there's always fuel that leads you to what you desire. There's always the fuel of what your intention is. Can you talk about that just for a second, and then I can lead into my story from this weekend?
100%. Thank you for naming that, and talk about another synchronicity.
Yeah, yeah. This
that
is
we're having
great.
this week. What day is it? Oh my God, that was just yesterday. I sometimes feel like I'm living a universe in a day, and I think that's a good thing. Yesterday, I talked all about, I also have a YouTube channel. I offer a free class every week, was prioritize your fuel with Archangel Metatron. So I don't know if you knew that, and that's why you asked me. Okay, I didn't think so. I thought it was just a divine synchronicity.
Yeah.
So your fuel is your intention. I use those words synonymously, right? And energy follows intention. Your fuel is how you want to feel as you move through the day, and you get to choose that. And what the challenge is once you choose that fuel and say, okay, I'm devoted to this fuel, I'm committed to this fuel, I'm prioritizing my fuel. Everything that's not that comes up for healing, right? The shadow of your fuel. And that's what I help my coaching clients with, right? Is like, commit to your fuel, and then I'm here, the angels are here, the energy work is here to help you to transform the opposite of that fuel, the shadow of the fuel. I hope that helps.
It does. It does. And thank you for that brief explanation. So this also ties into I didn't know the details about your father's death until you started sharing it. So this weekend I went to a retreat, and part of the retreat was a family constellation, which I had never done before. Have you done one of those before?
I know people who do it. I know about it. I know the idea of it, but I need to do one. So thank you
Yes.
for.
I highly recommend it to anybody, even if you go and you choose not to participate as the person having a family constellation, even just being in the group and seeing the synchronicities between everyone's families, it's monumental.
So cool.
So I was chosen to do a family constellation, and mine was around my stuck energy. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and I'm not getting anywhere. So what it came down to was, what is your relationship with your father? So we went through this whole family healing, uncovering some stuff that I haven't looked at in a really long time. And the synopsis of the healing was that I was here to give the weight of my father's pain back to him. He's on the other side. And it was a moment of me saying, I cannot carry this for you anymore. This belongs to you. Thank you for taking it. So that that 1 minute synopsis, it was like a 45 minute. I'm bawling. It was a wonderful experience. So that was the whole outcome of it. Later that evening, we were doing a sound healing, and I was processing everything that had just happened, and I started thinking about the fuel. I feel like I gave my father back some fuel that maybe if he would have ingested all of those emotions when he was here on this earth, he wouldn't have ran out of fuel so early. I feel like, and that was kind of like a metaphoric message to say, look at the things that you're ashamed of, look at the choices that you've made, and feel it, process it, let it move through you. Because when you burn up the stuff that sucks, it gives you more life force so that you can live a prosperous, healthy, long life. Is this making sense to you at all?
Every single word. I'm having a whole process happen inside of me from that sharing. So, um, thank you. Thank you for I absolutely. And the shame, it's still I still feel remnants of it, but nothing like and now I have a tool,
Yes.
lots of tools
Yes.
to create a shift around that. And I know in IET we talk about spiritual pride,
Hmm.
right? That's what heals shame and unworthiness is that humble being proud of ourselves. Actually, remember that card I pulled? I was like, I'm about to pull it
Yes.
up, right?
Yep.
That pride, being proud of our soul self, being proud of our whole journey, right? And becoming us. And it's interesting that we're doing this so authentically with no plan, no script, because
Mhm.
because my fuel this week, as we're talking about fuel, is visibility. And
Ooh.
I've never done visibility before. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going on this live chat with Jackie with no plan,
Mhm.
because I'm a planner, I'm a double Virgo, I plan, and I have my scripts and blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I just feel so safe with Jackie. I feel like I can be myself with her, that I just know. And I feel like you're an amazing witness listener. So you really take what people are saying and hear it without judgment, without shame, and be are able to share back. So thank you for that, because I don't have that with everybody, and I have to have a script because I don't want to. And I get to I this is something talk about visibility. So the shadow of visibility, at least for me this week, this is the first time I think I've ever consciously used this fuel. Now, let me talk about fuel for a second. I've done peace, right? A bazillion times, compassion, self-compassion. I mean, such a powerful fuel. Things like that, but visibility felt like this next level. So the shadow is hiding, shame, and shrinking. That's what I was like, what's the shadow of visibility? And why am I choosing this fuel this week? And so
Yeah.
now coming out more out of hiding, more sharing the gifts and the medicine and all of that. It's just perfect.
Everything is so divinely connected, right? And you brought up the double Virgo, which I do have your chart behind me. Have you ever had like a astrology reading? Do you know Okay, beautiful.
Can I just say one thing before you go on? So my mom, part of what my mom did, God rest her soul, she passed away 2.5 years ago. I miss her so much. She was, like I told you, she was really supportive of my spiritual journey and my gifts and everything. She read the tarot. She was an amazing tarot card reader, super intuitive. She was so into astrology. She watched the transits,
Hmm.
and was like, "Oh, I'm just going through a hard transit right now, or whatever, blah, 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 blah." And she would speak in those terms. So I do have some familiarity with it. And actually, one of my spiritual teachers, what she would do is she did this really cool thing where she'd map out your whole year of the transits and to show you those points where, this is the time to reach out. This is the time to go in more and be more meditative, right? This is the time to say yes. This is the time to pause. And it just was such a helpful tool. So I'd love to hear whatever the angels are saying, your soul, my soul.
The thing that caught my eye as I was looking at this, you've mentioned that you're a double Virgo, so your moon and your ascendant are in Virgo. Are you aware of what degree your moon sits at?
No.
Cool. So, what is your angel number? It's everywhere. 444.
444.
Your moon sits at 4 degrees 44 minutes of Virgo.
I'm having like angel bumps right now.
Yes. I love just those little tiny synchronicities, right? For anyone else, they might be like, that means nothing. It's just a stupid number. But the amount of times that you use 444, like it is ingrained into how I view Jill Kempner. And I just thought that that was really interesting that your moon is literally 4 degrees, 44 minutes. That's all I wanted to say about that. Unless you have specific questions, if it carries into your story.
I just am having one of those moments where you're like click, 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 click. Yeah,
And
in like a
especially,
good way.
so the moon in Virgo, here's Jackie Mancuso's explanation of what moon in Virgo means. Your moon in your chart shows you what you need to feel emotionally satisfied. Virgo is the sign of service. So this makes total sense that you are here to serve the world, whether that is through first being a yoga instructor and a massage therapist, now being a teacher and a coach and an author, sharing your wisdom, sharing your healing with the world so that they may pick it up and heal themselves.
That's Thank you. I don't think I ever really realized that about my Virgo moon. I kind of go towards the persnickety side of detail oriented, very organized, perfectionist. And I didn't realize that really the core, I was looking at the shadow instead of right the blessing of and that just makes so much sense. I'm also a Sag, right? So
Yeah.
I've got that fire, that enthusiasm. And I think that's what my enthusiasm for what I do is my devotion to it, my belief in it. I think I'm really trusting that that's what's magnetizing the clients and students that I am here to serve. And I know sometimes I get excited and I seem kind of hyper, but really, I have a gift of helping people relax more than they've ever relaxed before as part of this relax, release, receive process that I lead my clients through. Physical relaxation, emotional relaxation, mental relaxation, and spiritual relaxation. And that leads all that relaxation does is it creates this like amazing amount of space. And in that space, you can release the pain and receive the love of the angels, the peace, the compassion, whatever it is you're looking for.
So it's the space. That's what you are helping people is to create space. How has what you practice, I know this is going to be a loaded question, how has it benefited you? What specific results in your life have you experienced through practicing this Reiki, through healing with your angels? Like, why do you do it?
It's funny that you say the why, right? Because actually, next week I have this event where it's a little angel Reiki demo. It's a free angel Reiki demo. But then I had this like courage to kind of, come out of hiding, visibility, and put on the title of it, What's Your Why? I want to know why you want it. I know why I do it. I do it It's exactly what you said, so that I can be at my so I can be my soul and be at the highest level of service that I can provide for anybody. I do it because I'm in pain. I tore my ACL in 2015. I tore my bicep femoris in 2017. I have Crohn's disease. I have hypertension. I just got diagnosed with high blood pressure. But I'm on a medication and everything's stabilized right now. I mean, my doctor was really great and she was like, I would do it for now because we don't want anything to escalate. But, there is a possibility you could go off this medication. I'm actually getting a 3-for-1 if I can be completely honest. I have rosacea that pretty much only presents on my chin.
Okay.
And cystic acne. Now, what I've been doing and what I do with my clients, because you asked me why I do this, right? It's like, I want to heal. Like, I want to get the relief and I also have Crohn's disease. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, which is an inflammatory bowel kind of issue.
Okay.
And that, I mean, it's amazing the results that I am getting. It's interesting because I have a family member who's struggling right now, might be getting that diagnosis. And I'm thinking, oh, it brought me back to like when I first got diagnosed and what my symptoms were and where I am now, which I'm not on and I hope I never have to, but I'm not on medication for that. Those are immunosuppressants, which I would not want to do if I could avoid it. I know some people have to do that for their stabilization. I've been able to maintain and heal a lot of let's put it this way, it's a lifelong illness. It's a lifelong disease that has flare-ups. So right now I'm in what they call remission.
Nice.
So I'm not having a flare-up.
Mhm.
And sometimes, the flare-up could be this much, sometimes it could be this much.
Right.
And so I really use the Reiki, the relax, release, receive process, process. I don't want to hold on to that past trauma, to that shame, to the self-judgment, to the old Jill anymore. So I do it so that I can be in a state of health and vitality. So then I get to help other people. I want to help you relax, release, receive. I want to help you understand. A big part of the work I do with my coaching clients. And this is not for the faint of heart. It's a very brave and courageous because it's so vulnerable to say, I'm going to take responsibility for this wound, for this issue in the tissue, for this pain.
Mhm.
And I want to understand why my soul said yes to this. I want to understand the deeper meaning, the higher purpose of this wound. And I'm telling you, if you have the courage to do that with the support of a coach, right?
Yeah.
Or a therapist or whoever's going to support you in doing that, you get that support, you get that accountability, you can heal any pain and any issue in the tissue. I fully believe it. Partly from my own relief that I'm getting from the Crohn's disease. It's interesting. When I was younger, I don't know when it was, if I was a young kid or a teenager or a 20-year-old, I remember having this fear of having a disease. Like
Okay.
when I was, I just had this fear.
Mhm.
And then I thought, oh, how interesting that of all the illnesses I could have, I have one that actually has disease in the name, right? Because it's actually Crohn's disease is sort of the medical term of it. And I thought,
Right.
how interesting. And I could have had UC. Actually, when I first got diagnosed, they said, "Oh, you have UC and you have ulcerative colitis and Crohn's."
Mhm.
Then I waited 9 months. There's my 9 again to see a specialist, and he goes, "Oh no, you just have Crohn's. You don't have UC." So I started smiling and getting really happy and like da da da. And he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You just told me I thought I came in here thinking I have 2 diseases. I only have one. I'm happy."
Mhm.
So then he goes, "Well, this is the medication you have to take, and this, that, and that." And I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I am not taking any medication. I'm grateful for the diagnosis. Let me see what I can do on my own." So I got to tell you this one little cool thing. I started to, so I have a whole team of people that put me back together. That's my joke. Not that I'm falling apart. But it's a compliment. He told me to take 2 supplements, chlorophyll and ochrapepsin. And I was consistent. I took them. All of my symptoms went away from those 2. And I reduced the sugar.
Yeah.
I took out fried food. There were some things I did to just create less inflammation. All it is inflammation. It's the big, yeah. It's inflammation. So to reduce inflammation, I did what my soul was saying, what my body was saying. All my symptoms were gone from 2 little supplements.
Well, it wasn't just the 2 supplements, it's a holistic approach, right? You
Yes,
changed your lifestyle, you changed your eating, you continued with the energy work, and you took the supplements.
exactly. I went in and went, okay, why do I have this disease? What is it all about? What's the deeper meaning? And I'll be honest, it's easier to do that with another person. Like as the coach, I can go in and shine the spotlight, right? The love light onto that and go, okay, this is what your angels are saying. Do, 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 do. And here's what to
Mhm.
do. Do, 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 do. But yourself, you need other people to hold space for you around that. So it's been that dance of right, my own inner work and then the support from others.
Absolutely. And that's something that, I've learned. I've only been in this healing world since about 2020. And I took on a lot of other people's shit because I love helping other people. And it got to the point where, like, who's healing the healer? So I can validate everything that you just said about needing support for ourselves as well. But I wanted
100%.
to I wanted to ask if there's any amazing client testimonials or experiences that you've watched your clients work through that are coming to mind right now that you would like to share with anonymity.
Absolutely. So part of coming out of hiding, right? Part of the visibility fuel
Mm-hmm.
is sharing more of sharing clients' results, of course, with respect to their privacy and all of
Right.
that. And I think the challenge, I'm going to share one, but I want to kind of talk about, in the beginning when I first started first started my coaching programs, and the angels are saying something right now. Thank you. Okay, they want me to slow down just a little bit. So, as part because there's a few downloads that are coming through. So, the core of my coaching programs is energy work, and the practices in my book. Practice number 1: renew your devotion. Practice number 2: relax and cherish your body. Practice number 3: release and lead with your heart. And practice number 4: receive and trust your intuition. So I call it, to simplify it, relax, release, receive process. So my coaching programs are based on the practices that are in my book. And merged with, supported by, empowered by the energy work of Angel Reiki and IET. And part of what I help my clients do is to develop a personal practice, a daily angel practice with the angels, where they are relaxing, releasing, and receiving, where they're getting healing and downloads. Very specific to that pain that they're working on. That's where the focus comes, that's where the fuel comes in, right? Because we're saying, okay, no matter what, this is how I want to feel. This is the fuel I want. And I'm going to do the inner work, the energy work, the parts work, the angel work, all of that to embody that fuel, to release the shadow. And this is why I'm precursoring the results. In the beginning, what I found was a lot of people and women, a lot of women. I have had some male clients. I had more male clients as a massage therapist than I do as a coach.
Interesting.
Um, the women that were coming were healing emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, some of them had some kind of aches and pains and a little bit here, but that wasn't the initial reason that they were entering my practice. They were entering to heal a lot of them, emotional abuse, whether
Very
it was from their childhood, from their current marriage, whatever.
Yeah.
So that, and I think for a while, because I was doing so much emotional healing, that I wasn't it, and because it was so personal, so private, I wasn't able to share all the results. And fine, someone could look at you and say, hey, you look like you're feeling better, you look lighter, you look da da da, what are you doing, right? And a lot of times my clients were getting that positive feedback from their family, from their friends, from coworkers, whatever. But so much of what I did for years was this internal process.
Mhm.
It was more about just them feeling better.
Right.
Does that make sense? Them feeling more loved, more centered, more grounded.
Mhm. It
And
makes
so,
complete sense. I can tell you of multiple times that I've been face down on a massage table, sobbing my eyes out, just because she's hitting a pressure point and it's bringing up memories, and I'm talking about it because I feel comfortable with this person who's intimately in my space. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and this is I'm not talking about massage, but thank you. Yes, and. I'm talking about my coaching program. So in the beginning, in the first 5 years, I was helping people with emotional pain.
Got it.
Whether they were there live on my table and I was doing energy work, or they were living my first ever coaching client. This was the coolest thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, angels, you're stretching me to the next level. My first ever coaching client. And she's still my client, believe it or not, because she loves me so much and it works. She's having fun. Lived in across the country.
That's
And I
great.
was like, wow, I get to do this over the phone. Like, it totally broke me free, because I was in this, you have to be in my room on my table to get the healing, because when it was massage, it had to be
Right.
that. So
Right.
the beginning of my coaching programs, and I want to get to the results, beginning of my coaching programs was a lot of emotional healing.
Okay.
And so the result was them feeling better, them feeling like their soul. Maybe some of them got their voice back. Maybe some of them cut the cords to the karma, the drama, the codependency.
Mhm.
But now, in the past couple of years, and I want to share a quick, I actually just did a video testimonial with this woman, so it's exciting. the I'm having the courage to start to talk more about how the angels can heal physical pain, how energy work can heal physical dis-ease, issues in the tissues and imbalances. And I think it was my own, I don't know, fears or worries, like if I say I'm going to heal this fibroid and then I don't, then what happens? Did I fail? Did we fail? All this stuff, right? So I have this client who came in, who had restless leg syndrome. And I don't suffer from it. So the truth is, and she even said this in the testimonial, if you don't suffer from this, it's hard to explain.
Sure.
But essentially, she was exhausted for years, decades. Because she could never relax. She couldn't sleep well. That was one piece. She wasn't sleeping well. She was waking up. She had this sleep study where she woke up 70 times. She's like, oh, I woke up 70 times in a night. She goes, no, 70 times in an hour. So this woman was walking around in a exhausted fog, I mean, for decades. And then she got on a medication and it helped a lot. And she restabilized to a level that she could. And then I said, I have a really strong intuition that we can heal this out of your body and out of your lineage. And in 3 1-hour sessions, she's 98% better.
That's incredible.
And not only that, let me tell you, and I'm getting permission. I have permission to say this piece of it. So, it was genetic, right? It ran in her family, and her father had it. And he passed away. And she felt like the restless leg was one of their connections. And she was afraid. She had a part that was afraid to let go of that, because she would be letting go of him. And so we restructured that whole, first of all, we cleared all the cords and we removed all the karma and drama and non-serving loyalty
Mhm.
out of her body, out of her roots, out of her cellular DNA. This is what the angels do. And then we brought in a higher, more pure, more loving, joyful, laughter-filled connection with her father. That was one, and honestly, that's what it's all about, right? Understanding the deeper meaning of why you've been having this recurring disease. And there were other things too. I mean, be honest, now that that's better, she's looking at other stuff and how can the angels help her with that.
That's incredible. That's amazing. That's something that, like, the normal person these days would probably never think my restless leg syndrome would be connected to my relationship with someone else, and energy can heal it. I think it's incredible how much this is coming into the mainstream nowadays, because I see how effective it is. I've used it, you've used it, we've all used it. I think this is amazing. So what's next for Jill? What are you achieving right now? What are you striving for right now?
Well, I'm going to say that, but I also want to like end with some human design stuff because my brain is like, I need to have a human
Ooh.
design reading from you, is bottom line. And then we'll have a human design chat. What's in my heart? So much I want to share, serve, offer, do. But this year, 2025, right now, Angel Reiki, level 1, 2, and 3. I am offering this as a live, it's a virtual live course, and that'll make sense. I'll keep, and what that means is I'm teaching it live. You can be there with me on February 1st from 10 to 3 and receive it. But if for any reason you couldn't be there, it's recorded. So you can do it on your own as a self-study. What the download that I received is most likely this will be the second to the last time I ever do it live. And then I'm going to make it a full self-study course that you can do on your own time. So that's been brewing within me as I've been launching this, coming out of hiding. I mean, I realized I wasn't sharing as much about my angel Reiki gifts and medicine until I really took this launch to the next level. Writing book number 2, Archangels 101, Demystifying Your Archangel Connection in Everyday Life. This is going to be story after story. It's all story.
Nice.
It's all story. Angels, client stories, personal stories. Why? Really understanding there's an angel for everything. There's an angel for that was one of my little taglines when I first started this. There's an angel for that. Whatever fear, whatever pain, whatever wound, whatever issue in the tissue you have, there's an angel for that. So making the book short, sweet, practical. This is my autobiography. This is my baby. This is my life story up through 2021. I don't need to write another book because that's how good this is. I want to write another book because I want to highlight the power, the healing power of the archangels in your life, and how to, and here's what's cool. It's going to have their color, their symbol, their essential oil, their chakra, their astrology sign, their month. All going to be like ways, right, that you can connect with the angels, making it real and tangible now, right? Being an angel ambassador. And then I'm open for new coaching clients. I want those clients who have that, the doctors are confounded by the disease. You're stuck with it for the rest of your life. Come and see me and let's see what
Not
we can do.
anymore. I love that. I love that. In the show description, I'm sure I have your Facebook and your Instagram. And do you remember what else you gave me, or if there's anything else that we need to put in there?
My website, jillkempnerhealing.com. It's my name, healing.com, and it's here now too. So that's great. But we can put that, yeah, because everything I do is on my website, right? The current classes, my different offerings, testimonials. For a while, I have a YouTube channel, and I was teaching these classes, and at the end, I'd have a little meditation for 10 minutes or 12 minutes. And my son started a project of cutting those out and putting just the meditation on so I have maybe 10 or 12 of those. He's a little behind because I have 100 classes. So he needs to get back on, and I just remembered that. I'm going to get him to work. No, he's techie. He loves all that techie stuff. And of course I pay him. Like, he goes, "You don't have to pay me, Mom." He's so cute. He goes, "You don't have to pay me. Like, you give me the house and food." And I'm like, "I'm going to pay you for your time." But he's such a sweetheart. So yeah, just, the special projects of writing my book. I'd love to record my audiobook, my first book. So many people have said, "Can you I don't like to read. I don't have time to read. Can you just record your first book so I can listen to it and take it in?" So that is another sort of side project. So I'm just trying to find that perfect balance, of self-care, self first, and then serving from that place where I'm filled up. And one of the goals this week was highest level of service for my clients was one of my intentions for this week, and some more angel Reiki students. Enrollment is open. I do have a free event on Wednesday, January 29th. It's a little angel Reiki demo and what's your why. I want to know why you've been drawn to this work. How can I help and serve you, whether it's now or in the future? Um, and we can include that link if there's space for it, so people can come to the free event.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for all of that. I will get the description updated. This has been so lovely. I'm so glad that we got to connect in this other way. I feel like every time we're together, you're either teaching or we're in a big group of people. This is really nice to spend an hour with just Jackie and Jill.
I feel like we're gonna do this again because I just had so much fun. And even though my partner like, what did you just say?
It's out there. It's you. It's authentic. Who cares, right?
I love it. So, if you could leave me with a word of wisdom, connecting me with what are my angels saying? What are souls saying about with the human design that can be? I know when you help me, when you help anybody, we help the world. What's coming to you that you think could be supportive of my 2025 year and my goals?
I love that question. So, a few things that I noticed about your human design chart. I don't know how much you know about the human design. You are a manifesting generator. Yes. Do you know what that means? You're a fucking tornado. You are constantly going, you have ideas, and then you have the energy to implement it. So, you are one of maybe 30% of the population that has those ideas and that drive to maintain it. So, I don't want to use the word manic because maybe you do come off as a little more manic than the rest of the world, but you're kind of built that way. You have the profile number of 6'3". So
Mm.
what that means is you are in a constant trial and error. Your whole life is a trial and error. However, you are coming to that age where you are now stepping into, I forgot what they call it, but okay, so with your sixth line, you're a 6'3". With the sixth line, the first 30 years of your life is really like your fuck around and find out. That's when you just throw yourself out there, you fail a lot, and then between 30 to 50 is when you
Mm.
go into hibernation. It's when you go into hiding. It's when you process what the first 30 years of your life were like. Then around age 50, this is when you're going to have your Chiron return. So that relates back to
Oh.
astrology.
Yes.
Around age 50, that's when you step into this new version of I had my shit, I processed it, now let me really fucking lead. So you're still upon that time in your life. So if you do feel like you're spinning your wheels, just have some patience until age 50. And that's for anyone with a 6 line in their human design chart. That little sectioned out life, I honor that so much because I can imagine how difficult that is to struggle and feel like you're spinning your wheels and then just know it's coming, it's coming. I just have to be patient.
That's really insightful because I feel I'm 46 and a half and and I do feel like something's going to shift at that decade mark and now I'm so intrigued. I want to have a whole reading from you to get all the downloads. This was absolutely joyful, so grateful. I want to do more of this because it just feels so good to be unscripted. Like I said, I have that very like precision part, that, and it comes from a fear of I don't want to leak on people. I don't want to look distracted. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about. So I script
Mhm,
everything out,
mhm.
and so this has kind of broke me free from that a little bit. And I really appreciate it, Jackie. Your medicine, your compassion, your heart, your wisdom. I honor it so much. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right. For everyone who's interested, I'll be back doing this live stream with another Reiki healer in the community. Her name is Tina McDonald. We'll be back on Friday, January 31st. Not scheduled yet, but you guys follow, so you will be there. Hello to everyone who was in the chat. I'm sorry I haven't been paying attention to that at all. Just been having
Hey,
so much
Dawn.
fun with Jill.
Hi, Dawn. Hi, Mr. Bojangles 2477. Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys all for watching. And Jill, take care. I will see you very soon.
So soon. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. Have a beautiful evening.
Take
Namaste.
care. Bye.
Bye.